Okay, and welcome back. So in this tutorial, we're going to be dealing with completing the square to solve a quadratic equation. However, the middle term has an odd coefficient, which means we're going to be dealing with fractions. So since you guys are pros now at doing this, we're just going to fly right through this. But we're going to do two examples, which is this one here. And we'll do another one where we have a different coefficient other than 1 on the leading term. So the first step is going to be to move the constant over to the other side. Mine will be a -2. And then copy everything over. Then add your plus blanks. Then take half of the coefficient of the middle term. In this case here, mine is going to be -3/2. Then you square it, and you get 9/4. On the right side, write the 9/4 down, and on the left side, we're going to write -3/2 quantity squared. Like I said, we're just going to fly through this. Set up our parentheses with the square on the outside, and copy down the x and what's inside the parentheses here. So I have a -3/2. I think I'm going to cross that 2 out, so let me rewrite that again. There we go. So that'll be x minus 3/2, and this is equal to, so when you simplify the right side, you can just multiply the 4 times a -2 to get a -8, plus the 9 gives you a 1, so this will be 1/4. Then take the square root of both sides of the equation. Now, don't forget the plus minus. Okay, now bring down the x minus 3/2 and simplify the radical if you can. Then move the constant term on the left side, mine's at -3/2, you're going to move yours over to the other side. So mine will become +3/2 on the right. So now I have two solutions. I'll write this on the right side of the page. I'm going to copy this down again. So I have x is equal to 3/2 plus or minus 1/2. So my first solution will be x is equal to 3/2 plus 1/2, which is equal to 4/2, which is equal to 2. My second solution is going to be x is equal to 3/2 minus 1/2, which in this case here is going to be 2/2, which is equal to 1. So therefore, my final answers are going to be x is equal to 2 or x is equal to 1. And that's it. Okay, so for the next example, 3x squared minus x minus 1 is equal to 0. Again, we move the constant over to the right side. In my case, this will be a +1. Then copy down the equation. Place your plus blanks. And then factor the left side. And on the last blank, you're going to put a 3. Okay, that accounts for the factor when you add 0 to the equation by completing the square. Okay, so if you're wondering how I got this 1/3 here, I'll show you very quickly. I'll start from this line here. So I had originally 3x squared minus x, and we'll just ignore the rest. So when I took the 3 out, I'm essentially multiplying the top equation by 3/3. And since I'm doing that, I'm really just multiplying by 1, so nothing changes. Well, this is actually equal to 3 times 3x squared minus x all over 3. And in this case here, since the 3 is being divided into both of these two terms, I could essentially look at it and think of it this way. I could think that each one is being divided by 3, in which case here these 3's cancel out, and I'm left with this, 3 times x squared minus 1/3 x. Okay? Again, don't worry about the blanks. This is just the concept. Some people sometimes ask, how do you force factor something? So this is how you do it. Okay, so let's continue. So now we take half of the coefficient of the middle term. In this case here, I have negative 1/3, and we're going to divide it by 2 and square it. Well, in this case here, this will just be negative 1/6. Quantity squared. And then when you square it, you get 1 over 36. So on the right side, we're going to write 1 over 36. But on the left side, we're going to write negative 1/6 quantity squared. Then we're going to do what we did before, which is just bring everything down. So we have the 3, set up our parentheses with the square, and we're going to bring down our x and our negative 1/6. Equals sign gets brought down, and then we simplify the right. Since 3 times 1/36 is really just 1/12, then we have 1 plus 1/12. I'll just write that here on the side. 1 plus 1/12. So this is 12 times 1, which is 12 plus 1, which is equal to 13 over 12. So this right side will be 13/12. Then we can divide by 3 on both sides, and we'll get x minus 1/6 quantity squared is equal to 13 over 36. Essentially, I'm just multiplying by 1/3 on both sides, but I think you guys see that. So now, what we're going to do is take the square root of both sides. I'm going to make a little bit of space and continue on the second side of this page. And I'm going to copy this line over again. And now when I take the square root, this is what I get. Again, don't forget the plus minus. I get x minus 1/6 is equal to plus or minus square root of 13 over. Now, instead of writing square root of 36, I'm just going to write 6. I think you guys see that already. Now I'm going to move the negative 1/6 over to the right side, so that way it becomes a positive 1/6. And that will be plus or minus the square root of 13 over 6. Since these two have the same denominators, I could just write it as one big fraction. And that's it. There's no need to write two different equations. I could write down x is equal to 1 plus square root of 13, or x equal 1 minus square root of 13. And each one would be over 6. But there's no need to write that. I'm going to leave my answer like this. Okay, guys, well, I guess that's it. You have all the tools you need to be able to get through any of these type of completing the square problems. Again, if you look at the concepts video and maybe a couple of the other videos, you'll see that these are the same techniques you would use for different types of situations. So whether you're graphing or you're just trying to solve a quadratic equation, basically the steps are going to be the same. All right, guys, as always, good luck with your homework and tests in the future, and thank you for watching.